Hello.
Hello.
Hey, you both came in at the same time.
We do that a lot.
Well, I was going to make a Badlands joke for Freeze's benefit, but I'm not going to do that right now.
On this episode of the John1911 Podcast, 40 caliber Gen 5 Glocks, 8mm M1 Garands, Freeze has a price, Trump gets his mojo back.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is Danny, Marky, and Freeze, and this is episode 180 of the John1911 Podcast. How's everybody doing on this glorious summer night?
I'm doing good.
It's hot as hell, but I'm doing good.
It is hot.
It
How
is.
hot- How hot was it today, Freeze, in Cincinnati?
I don't know, 91, 92, something
Yeah,
like
it's been
that.
in the low 90s, so I've been in the office all day today. We've had so much going on. How hot has it been in Chicago, Danny?
About the same. It was 90,
About the same.
but the weekend is 99 and 99 for Saturday and Sunday.
Holy shit! I'm gonna have to check the weather. We have a big test shoot at the range, the John1911 range on Friday. That we're gonna be doing video testing and all kinds of stuff going. It's been crazy busy. So I'm sorry for the listener at home. We normally record these things in the morning, but
Yeah.
I've been so busy dealing with some of the stuff infrastructure. It's now 7:46 at night. So for example, today we had to get the network guys in to rip out the internet service provider's fiber optic router system for the armory and install our secured systems, and then set up the network printers and get all, and then the AV stack and for the building. And then also we had to have a technician come out today to work on a vault door because I needed a custom part fitted inside of one of the vault doors. It's been nonstop all day. It's just been crazy. Also, I had a contractor today who wants to bid on, we're raising the berms. It's something news to you, Freeze. I've been talking about it, but raising the berm in the pit, and we're going to start raising the berm out at 600 too. And
Well,
so
the berm at 600 seriously needs to be raised big time. But it's interesting. The pit berm. I don't disagree with that decision, of course. But why are you doing the pit berm?
Well, the pit berm isn't really high enough either. And the problem is, I'm more worried about deflections. Look, it's big boy rules. If you're going to launch a round out of that pit, I can't stop you. But for example, I had an incident. This was earlier in the year before the move, and I was running some drills on steel, and I had caught the top piece of steel, a top piece of one of the, one of those permanent steels, the 3, and nipped the top of it, and the bullet went up. And it, I say it probably was 2 feet from the top of the berm. Realistically, it could have been closer to 3. But the thing is, it's one of those things is I got to have no rounds leaving that pit. Yeah. So, and I've always planned on raising that berm. And so the contractor, we're going to build something that's it's not meant to stop direct hits. It's meant to stop ricochets and deflections. So we're going to build on top. He's going to bid. And the thing is, the berm for the pit, that structure will be so large, I have to be concerned about wind knocking it over. And so we have to make sure it's secure enough that it can survive a storm, and then and stuff can pass, air can pass through it. It's a huge fucking drama.
We're on top of the ridge. It's windy up there.
There's a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind on that range, which the snipers like a lot. But it's just it's a lot. It's just it never stops. So been a big. That was about a third of my day today was just getting the price for the berms, and so.
Well, Marky, it's probably a good idea that you're raising that berm, because when I go down there and shoot that new Police 38, God knows where those rounds are going to fly. It's a good idea.
Yeah, you know what? The space shuttle in orbit's going to have to change position because apparently, Yeah.
It's a good idea.
So yeah, it's more about deflections and like there's and Freeze, actually, you'll remember this, where the falling plate rack is now, because it's facing towards our beat zone on the rifle range. The reason I didn't face it, I initially wanted to put it on towards the big berm, but I wasn't convinced that deflections hitting that target, hitting that plate rack wasn't going to send stuff up. When I raised that berm up, say another 10, 12 feet, I could, in theory, move the plate rack back over to that side. And then, stuff would, if worst case scenario, you get a bad angle, you catch a corner of a plate rack, it's now deflected, hits the top of the berm, it'll be a wall, and then it either just goes up or behind you. Like it doesn't leave the footprint of the pit or impact zones. Yeah. So that's the theory. So hopefully I don't have to spend more than
how high do you want to go, Marky? How high is it now?
I don't know how high it is because we've had some settlement and some erosion, and also that pit is dug into a hill. So when I film in that pit, and if you've seen pictures of the pit where you see the three steel targets, humanoid targets, up against the berm. If you were to walk around to the backside of that berm, those steel targets are actually underground. They're below grade because we dug into the hill and then took the dirt and raised it up. And so I didn't have to make a giant. The berm it's a grading trick. So I probably want to that berm. I don't know how high it is. I have to measure it again, but it's pretty high.
At least 40 feet.
High?
Yeah.
No, it's not 40 feet high. Hell, fuck no.
Well,
it's probably 20.
Oh, because I remember in my former life, the berm I seen was at least 35 to 40 feet, but it was flat level. It was not dug into it.
Yeah, there's and like you'll see a lot of facilities, and they have much higher berms. They're really nice, I have to admit, but I had reasons for not doing that because I felt like, this is a private range. This isn't, the range doesn't have to be designed, and not to be too politically correct, but I'm not building a range that's designed to handle retards. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be out there like someone like this, like for example, Freeze made a comment about the 600-yard impact berm. That's a pretty high berm, but here's the thing. The only people I let shoot at that zone, at that target, are snipers. That is not a target position that, like, if we were a public range and, just Joe Schmo can go back there with Daddy's 30-30 and be like, I'm going to see if I can't hit that fucking steel at 600 yards because they're sending rounds where they don't know where they're at. If a sniper shoots at the 600-yard target, they miss by like 4 inches at most.
Yeah. I mean, like,
what I'm saying?
To give it a point, I've shot at the 600-yard target on one occasion, and that was with your blazer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, I've never shot any of my weapons at 600-yard range. I don't feel comfortable enough with any of the equipment I have.
But the saving grace is if people look at look closely at ever our videos or our photographs. So there's the 600 yard impact zone. There's a berm and it's on top of a hill. And you'll notice the whole front face of that hill is cut. There's no trees on it, it's grass. And there's a steel target that sits in the middle of that giant hill. That's in front, that the 600 yard impact zone sits on top of. And here's the thing, that target sits there for a reason. The slang term for that target is called the check target. And so here's the thing. You could take a shot at that target, with some, as long as they're, pseudo-controlled. Like you could take a shot at that target with iron sights on a Sharps rifle. Because here's the thing. If you miss that target by 25 or even 30 feet, even maybe 40 feet, you're still going to hit the hill. Yeah. So the idea being, okay, give me a shot on the check target. And we can, since the grass is cut on it, if you miss that target by a country mile, we'll see the splash. Be like, yo, you're back. You're not approved to shoot the 500-600. You got to come back.
You're
into
back
2
at
or 3,
200.
and we got to fix your shit. And that's what that target exists for. It's the check target. And also the reason is not every gun that we own is a blazer with a fancy German scope on top of it. And so like we wanted to be able to have a target that we could shoot, 30-30s at or 45-70s at, or, like, hey, do you think you could hit that with a shotgun slug? I don't know. Well, Freeze, I would let Freeze take a shot at that. So, it's like, but again, we've got a target that you can kind of goof off on, but we use that target to make sure like your zeros are on, your shit's not loose before you take a shot at the 5.6. If you miss the impact zone at 5 or 6, the round is still staying on property. But it's the principle. I have a policy: bullets don't leave impact zones.
Yeah, well, and if the 500-600 yard target, you can't afford the example you used, missing the target by 20 feet, you can't afford a 20-foot miss at that range.
And there's another thing too, and no one wants to really talk about it, but there's 2 ways a bullet. Bullets exist in 2 universes. After you fire that bullet, the bullet has the energy that it has when it leaves your barrel. And then there's the energy that's left after it deflects off something. And very frequently, when you watch video of some guy, like I saw one the other day, these people had dug up some 30-06 tracer ammo. And they had some bolt gun. They were like, shoot at that hill. And you could, right before the bullet was hitting the hill, that maybe 200 yards away, you could see some of the tracer. And then you would see the bullet, it would hit the hill. Then you'd see the bullet go up into the air. And the thing is, that bullet going up into the air could hurt you. In theory, it could kill you. But that bullet has lost so much energy that it's just like, it's like throwing a baseball into the air. Like it's not going to go 3 miles. It's just going to fall in your impact zone. So, that's kind of like, I don't want a bullet that misses a berm and it's got all of its ass flying across the property.
Well, and that's a serious issue that possibly could happen out at the 600-yard target.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into it too much, but I'm not going to say who it was. But we did have one shooter one time who was qualified to shoot that impact zone. And he sent a round over that. He sent a round over that berm. We detected it, and the round stayed on property. So okay, we had a small technical difficulty there. Danny is back, and so he got tired of us talking about the berm and moving dirt around. So he obviously wanted to dip out because he's like, I'm tired. A retired highway worker. He doesn't want to hear about. He's like, I'm retired. I don't want to hear about all this crap.
No, actually, we built the berm at the local state type thing, and I know it was 40 feet because the 40-foot flagpole had the red flag, and if you stood in the back, they were just about eye level even with each other, the top of the red flag and the berm.
Yeah. What we did is our berm in the pit, because it's below, the berm at the base of the berm, even if it's the theoretical berm where it exists, because it goes into the hillside. Even the footprint of that berm, its width is deep enough to handle, according to, I'm not going to say who right now, according to an organization, is deep enough to be rated to accept 50 BMG rounds. But in theory, we actually can take even longer than that because we're below grade. So to get a berm typically that deep or that wide, I guess deep technically, a lot of times you got to go really high. I didn't have a footprint big enough. I didn't want to burn up that much space. And also we didn't have that much soil. I didn't want to take soil from other parts of the property. So, it's big boy rules out there. Yep. So if you're stupid enough, you're going to send a round over the top of that berm. I'm not going to be able to stop you. So it's just
because most people that are stupid enough to send rounds over that berm aren't going to be people that would be invited to play out there anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? Accidents happen.
It can't accidentally happen. It does.
Oh shit! You know, like with that deflection I told you about, that was literally, like I almost sent a round out of that berm.
Yeah.
You know, shit.
No, I get it. Accidents do happen, but my point is, your average yokel who goes to the public gun range is not going to be shooting out there. Okay, Danny, you've been to public gun ranges. Anytime you go to a public gun range that's outdoors, I'm not talking about an indoor gun range, and they have the firing line. It always has like a galvanized tin roof over it. If you look up, if it's raining hard, you're going to get wet because there's so many freaking holes in that roof.
It's definitely perforated.
Okay. Yeah, those people don't get to go out to the John 1911 gun range.
Well, here's the thing. When I was younger, I used to look at stuff like that. I could look at ceilings and look at roof. You see that and you're like, holy fuck. Like the indoor gun ranges, you see stuff on the ceilings. Maybe it's deflection. Stuff. Guns get away from people. They start to rock up on them. But as I've gotten older and I've had more experience, I've come to realize, especially when I see outdoor ranges with covered positions and holes in the roofs, that's assholes out there shooting to the fucking roof. Sure, some of that's an accident, but you know what it is? You get someone out there where there isn't a range safety officer, which I hate range safety officers, but some asshole out, they start, they show up with a television, want to shoot the television up on your range, or let's see, will my bullet go through this 2x4, go through this 4x4 that's happened to be holding up the roof? I don't know, Jimmy, let's give it a shot. And, and that goofy shit like that happens. And so, it's very frustrating. So I'll tell you what, Danny has let us talk about this long enough. And I know he's dying to ask the question, and I wonder if he's got the answer. And we will talk about more industry stuff. Where is Ghislaine's Maxwell's booking photo?
Non-existent.
Isn't that interesting?
I brought that point up to you. Did you get my text?
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, because you were asking me. You're like, "Where's our booking photo?" It's like here, like if it was Donald Trump Jr. that was arrested, and he was being held to the same level capacity as this woman is, we'd see that fucking booking photo.
Oh yeah, we would.
Yeah, anyone of any notoriety, you would see it. There's, but yet. You call me the conspiracy theory king. I'm not going to deep dive into this because there's just no photos. That's a fact. And what's I find very ironic is that they moved her from federal custody to the New York City jail where her ex was.
No, I believe he was in the federal facility.
I thought he was in the city facility.
I thought he was in the DOJ facility.
I got to look that up.
Do you know what facility he's at right now?
Daisy pushing.
I haven't had it because I've been so busy. I haven't had a chance to read all these cool stories that I want to read. Is it true that she supposedly had like a phone and she wrapped it in tinfoil? Is that true?
I don't know. Only people that believe in conspiracies would think of that one. But
okay, I deserve that.
She did,
Danny. That's okay. Take your win.
She did have her arraignment today and pleaded innocent.
Was there any still photography or drawings of her arraignment?
Just
any court reporter drawings.
It was the only photographs I seen was her outside of the courtroom and then emerging from the courtroom. That's it. And she was really shuttled very quickly in and out with, if you look at the still photos, there's a shitload of security.
Yeah. Holy shit. If I almost hate to even say it.
Look, if she accidentally dies in prison, do you realize how bad that will be?
I don't think people do I don't think I'm able to comprehend. I don't think I'm able to war game out what possibly could happen if something were to happen to her in custody. Like, just, forget like if she just has a heart attack, but like if she gets shanked in the shower, I mean, like, oh my God, like it would be, people will lose their goddamn minds.
Well, you did hear she was placed on suicide watch and given the paper gowns, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty standard for her. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean, I heard about that, and I didn't really think much of it. I mean, it's like, yeah, okay.
Well, you know what? Maybe they're setting up Kanye West to be the fall guy, like Lee Harvey Oswald. There's a conspiracy. Well, no, the reason I bring it up, just because I think it's interesting, because Kanye is all about Kanye, and the Kardashians are all about the Kardashians, and they're worth billions, and they've done great, and they, we're talking about them now. But Kanye's like running for president, and he's not running for president, and I'm like, whatever, this is all bullshit. And like, there were liberal people like, oh my God, he's taking votes away from somebody to hurt, and all this stuff. But then I thought it was really interesting when, as soon as he came out and said something positive about Donald Trump again, his family came out and said, Kanye's having a bipolar episode and we're worried about him. It's like, okay. So every time Kanye comes out, like, that's going to be my thing. Like, every once in a while, Freeze will say something that's like so horrendously bad on pod that I'm surprised it doesn't make the AP wire service. And I'm just going to have a press release ready. Freeze is bipolar. We're concerned. We're addressing it.
Well, how about the Friday night?
Look.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't really say stuff that's that bad.
No, you don't. But you talk about.
I have nothing useful that would contribute to the further of this conversation.
But how?
Well, okay. Now, and I'll admit we are 180 into these, and if you go back and scan the first 20 or 30, I probably wouldn't be too opposed to those going away. Because seriously, days of the podcast when we had 0 listeners, I mean, we just said I don't even remember. I mean, we just talked about all kinds of crazy shit that
apparently for half of them you were drunk.
There we go again.
That's not true.
So Freeze, I have a confession. I don't know if I keep it from you, but I don't know if it's ever obvious. But I don't know. It wasn't very often, but I know probably at least twice. You said something and you mean it as like some kind of like joke or whatever, like it's some punchline thing. And, we used to have Mitch used to be the producer for the podcast. And I used to be like, hey, Mitch, at about 42 minutes, there's a comment that Freeze makes. Make that go away. This one comment, just take that one out. Just take that one out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we used to, you're fine. You never said anything that was like, like untrue. You never say anything that was untrue, but sometimes the world wasn't quite ready to hear the truth.
Okay.
Well, and the truth is we've cleaned up the podcast a lot over the past couple of years too. Because I mean, we were pretty raw in the beginning. And we were learning. And I mean, we were pretty, I mean, and we've cleaned up and, because once we realized that we were going to be doing this and people were actually listening to it, it's like, well, okay, let's try to be a little bit more professional than this. Now,
there have been repeated times when we have found out that people listen to this or we look at the numbers and it's like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because we always have these conversations anyway. So, yeah, that's,
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we talk daily. Okay, let's get off this. Go on, Danny.
No, wait, let's make a point. Like, here's an example of a point. Here's like an example of something that I would say that the conversations we would have, because I didn't know it, and it would be in the news, and I would have to ask Freeze, because like, explain this to me like I'm 2 years old. I'm going to just say this right now in terms of 2 stories that are in the news right now that I don't understand them because when I first heard them, they made no sense to me. I would have been shocked if you told me a month ago that there is a Hispanic or Latin-owned food company called Goya and that there was a black guy in NASCAR named Bubba. Because to me, I'm like, wait a minute. Goya to me sounds like Hebrew, and Bubba does not sound like a black guy in NASCAR. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I see these stories, and I can't be the only person that's going, okay, why is everybody upset about Goya? Who is Goya? It sounds like, do they make kosher food? Like, am I an asshole for saying that? And then it's like, okay, so everyone's screaming about Bubba in NASCAR, and I'm like, then there's like a noose, and I'm like, some guy named Bubba, and there's a fucking noose, and I'm like, Bubba, why did you hang a noose? Wait a minute, Bubba's a black guy? I mean,
nah, he's not really black.
I'm getting ready. Okay.
Hey,
Mitch.
now,
Can you remove a comment?
No, I mean, seriously. Okay, the truth is, he's the only biracial driver in NASCAR.
I mean, I had never heard. Not that I don't watch NASCAR. I mean, but it was like, but if you had told me the black guy in NASCAR was
you mean the
Bubba,
heavily tanned guy?
I don't even know what he looks like. So you say
he's not very dark at all. He's biracial, and okay, that's fine. He's biracial. That's no big deal. But everybody's like, the only black. It's like, yeah, okay, fine. He wants to hold on to his black heritage, and that's great. It's not like Michael Jordan jumping in a car.
So there is a person that Freeze and I both know. There is a person that Freeze and I both know. I'm not going to name this person. He he's married into a family, and I'm not going to say his name, but he is from Kenya. And so you're telling me that Bubba Watson in NASCAR is not as black as our super smart, incredibly interesting friend from Kenya?
No. Actually, our friend from Kenya is black. Bubba Wallace looks kind of like...
Is it Wallace or Watson?
It's Wallace.
Oh, see, I don't even... Okay. I had Bubba Watson. Okay.
Let me put it to you like this. Don Lemon may be darker than Bubba Wallace.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, really.
Actually, if you've seen photos of Bubba, he looks like that French guy, that Juicy Smollett guy.
From
Justice for Juicy?
he looks a lot like him.
Now, wait a minute. Hold on. Now, Juicy's black. I don't think anyone looks at Juicy and they're like, oh, by the way, any chance we had of having sponsors, everybody, just evaporate. just so you know. Just so you know. Like, we are splitting your own through.
Look, our sponsorship evaporated on episode 50.
So justice for Juicy. I just didn't even. I mean, I don't know. Like,
well, you're saying justice for Juicy. What about justice for Roger Stone? He finally received it.
Okay, look, you emailed me. You've been telling me for a while. You're like, is Donald Trump going to pardon Roger Stone? And it's like, well, right now he commuted his sentence. He hasn't pardoned him yet. But I've always felt, and everybody's have always felt, Roger Stone getting a full pardon is as certain as the sun coming up tomorrow. There was never any doubt Roger Stone was going to get a full pardon. Roger Stone's even acted like it. He's like, you can't touch me. Roger Stone, Danny, do you know who Roger Stone is? And what I mean is, before Roger Stone popped up in Donald Trump's orbit as president of the United States, have you ever heard of Roger Stone?
Oh, yes.
Do you want to have that conversation?
Yes, I do have some history on him. He's the swamp rat king. He's the king of inciting.
Roger Stone is, how do I say this? Roger Stone is one of the original political dirty tricksters. And he's a guy who would, run ads about people or rumors about people that could be true or not be true. For example, let's say a politician was secretly in the closet gay or had a whatever. Roger Stone was the guy, his job. As a matter of fact, his life's mission was to find shit like that. And then he would, as an operator, trade that to various campaigns. He's the original dirty trickster, going back to the days of Nixon. And so, but it gets even better. Roger Stone is he's put ads in the paper for swinger ads. He's into this BDSM scene. If you look at Roger Stone, you know everything about Roger Stone. He's very flamboyant, how he dresses. He's involved in all kinds of crazy sexual escapades, and it's almost incredible that he's a quote Republican for the average Republican. That's why a lot of the GOP guys don't like him, but Trump likes him because he's a fighter. Trump has always liked Roger Stone.
Well, but Roger Stone is the kind of guy that Trump can get behind because he's a fighter. Trump is a fighter as well. And I mean,
when Donald Trump was toying with he's like, I'm going to run for president. And everybody's like, get the fuck out of here, bitch. Two people came out and supported Donald Trump. One was Roger Stone. And it was if Roger Stone is, because Roger Stone's a real player. It's Roger Stone's supporting Donald Trump. And the other one was Jeff Sessions.
Mr. Lost.
Did Jeff Sessions just lost his
primary bid for the
primary campaign to Tommy Tuberville, the coach from Auburn.
Right.
Really?
Freeze, you didn't get a drink of water.
I just took one.
Okay, good. Okay.
What color was it?
No, it's Kroger purified drinking water.
Yeah. Get that man a drink.
In the bottle. No, I did not hear Sessions lost his bid.
Yeah, he lost huge. It was almost a 2-to-1 plurality.
Was it 2-to-1?
Yes.
Ouch.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing. Trump campaigned hard against Sessions. And you know what? All the arguments I've been making about Donald Trump politically.
Yeah.
Because, against, criticizing Trump's campaign and his behavior the past, say, 4 or 5 months is somewhat nullified by the fact that the last 2 or 3 politicians that he's gotten behind have won. And the fact that he was able to swamp Jeff Sessions, pun intended, that's pretty interesting. That gives Trump some power. That gives Trump power in November. That gives Trump power with politicians that are trying to flip on him, and that's good news.
Well, don't you think when Sessions reclused himself, number one, that hurt him with the electorate, from Alabama, and then number two, the guy is wishy-washy in my book, and that was exposed in the primary. And I really think that's part of why Trump fired him.
Well, Jeff Sessions, you got to realize when Jeff Sessions came, let's not rewrite history here. Okay, we got to be fair to Jeff Sessions. And then I promise we're going to talk about the Gen 5 Glock. Jeff, I swear we are. Jeff Sessions in Washington was a major senator. He was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, or he was definitely senior member of the committee. Not senior member, but the chairman. So he's only been in Congress 12 years, or been in Senate for 12 years. But when he came out in support of Donald Trump so early on, I mean, it made Donald Trump. It gave Donald Trump serious purchase with a lot of people. It wasn't a fantasy. Jeff Sessions, look, I'm just going to be real here. Jeff Sessions is not Ron Paul. All right? You know what I mean? Like Ron Paul, the congressman from Texas that's like a little wackadoodle. Jeff Sessions was not wackadoodle. And he really did a lot for Trump. But you are correct. Yeah. What happened was they got Jeff Sessions. Sessions had a meeting with Kislyak, who was the ambassador from Russia, and somehow it had the appearance of impropriety. And Sessions, in his defense, didn't really see. It was like, well, it does appear to be improper, and I'm now the attorney general. I'll go ahead and recuse myself. This is pretty standard. Recusals in legal circles are not a bad thing. Judges recuse themselves all the time. Prosecutors recuse themselves all the time. And he did it, and then it turned into this giant shit show, and Trump has hung this around Sessions' neck ever since. And, I don't know if I necessarily blame Jeff Sessions, because when Sessions did it, at the time, we hadn't been through all of the circus with the Russian thing yet. It was just like a hot story, a hot take for him, and he was like, fine, I'll recuse myself. But Trump is trying to rewrite history a little bit, and it's kind of hanging that around Sessions' neck. And, Sessions is a politician, and so, yeah, he appears wishy-washy. I don't know what he did to lose, but, I mean, I guess he. I honestly didn't think this Tommy Tuberville guy was going to win in Alabama.
Oh yeah, he'll beat Doug Jones. He'll beat Doug Jones very handily down there.
So you're saying Sessions losing doesn't mean it's a better chance for Doug Jones to win? You think Tommy Tuberville, the Republican, will defeat?
Oh
Senator?
Yeah, if anything, Jones should start packing his Washington office.
No, that's good. That's good.
I mean,
that's good for Trump. That's good for everybody.
Well, and you asked, what did Sessions do to the people of Alabama? He recused himself. And have you been to Alabama lately? I was there last year. It is Trump country. Don't think it's not. And when you do something against, Trump, and as they perceive Sessions to have done, they turned on him like a dog.
Well, I'm trying to remember the terms of Sessions being. Was Sessions fired as Attorney General, or was he forced? Was he basically browbeat into resigning?
I want to say he resigned on his own.
They just basically got to the point. Then when you got Bob Barr in, and that's what really opened up the floodgates, because Barr could come in as a fresh set of eyes and kind of start over on a lot of this stuff and start investigations. So that's interesting. So, because I know Sessions was trying to kind of make amends with Trump, but I remember I heard the commercial. Trump did a commercial for Tuberville, whatever his name is, and it was like, yeah, Tommy Tuberville is going to have a direct line to my office, and the people of Alabama, whatever, especially that thing Sessions did. Like it was kind of bad. It was like, man, that's a real fucking hard ad. To have the president coming out basically naming you, basically saying you suck.
I think for Sessions to get any favor from Trump would be about the same thing as Ruth Bader Ginsburg getting it. It's going to be non-existent.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about that for a minute. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is, you know what? No, I'm going to do a segue. Glock Gen 5, they've released the 40 calibers. So all the PDs out there that want to do the 40 caliber, because they've gone the 40 caliber, they're not going to change calibers, but they would like to have a Gen 5 gun with the ambidextrous slide stop. Glock has now released the Gen 5 and 40 for you guys. So there's your big news breaking for all the police departments out there that are still stuck in 40. The 40 Smith and Breaker. And all right.
I had that, remember? I had the Gen 4 Glock 22 and 40 cal. I hated it.
Yeah.
Hated that thing.
Oh, my God. They're thumpers. Yeah, we have one PD that trains at the John1911 range that uses 40. And, so like we've got, I've got the Glock 35 which ones do you freeze? Do you remember which is there's a 34 and a 35. One's 9 and one's 40. I've got it both. So, but that's why we have.
You know what? I can't. I don't even remember.
One of those two. We have one of those two. As a matter of fact, I've actually been kind of eyeballing. I know Wilson Combat, I think, announced that they're going to stop making or have stopped making 40 caliber 1911s, and I thought about picking one up just to have it.
Why?
Because I like 1911s, and Wilson has a 40 caliber single stack magazine. That's like probably works better than like in the bad old days. I don't know. I think a 40 caliber. Didn't you have a 40 caliber 1911 at one point? I did years ago. I had a bobtailed Commander that came with both a 40 caliber and a 357 SIG. But it was a Commander, right. And it was a Commander, and it just sucked. I prefer 5-inch guns. Hence why we have the Wilson, which is a fantastic gun, by the way. 5-inch gun. That is probably the best. No, that is by far the best double stack duty 9mm 1911 ever made. That gun is a monster gun, and I am shocked that more people don't know about that gun. That gun is unreal.
So is the price.
Yeah, I was just going to say more people don't know about it because of the MSRP. And look,
well, now wait a minute. You got all these people out there buying, $2,000 and $3,000 2011s, and on the high end 2011 circuit, there are some of these companies. Their guns start at $4,000, $5,000, and $6,000, and it's like for these.
Hold on a second. Now, I'm not saying the price isn't justifiable, but I'm just saying the average 1911 guy isn't out there buying $5,000 2011s. I mean, this
gun isn't a $5,000 gun. This is a $2,800 gun, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
well,
$3,000. I'm not sure.
But most the average guy out there who wants a 1911 style gun is out there buying a freaking Kimber for $1,500-$1,800.
Yeah, but if you're going to step into a real 1911 you actually do something with, and you actually want high capacity, which changes the game, because these high capacity guns with the magazine and the angles, because they were designed for 45, there's major problems with them. This EDC X9 gun, dude, oh my God, this gun is a monster gun. This gun is a monster gun.
Yeah, and again, I'm not disputing any of that. I'm just saying that
the price
a lot of guys
with the average consumer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, guys that are looking for what you're looking for will drop that and not think twice about it. Mm-hmm. But for the average consumer, it's just not going to be that popular. And it's just because of the price point. That's all. And
you know what? But you know what? Look,
justified.
I don't know Wilson's business. I'm not going to claim I know Wilson's business model. And, Wilson is a lot bigger than they were 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I don't think Wilson, even if they had the for example, okay, like here's an argument. Let's say I were to be like, okay, I think I'm not advocating this, but I'm just making the point. If I were to make an argument that the Wilson EDC X9L should be the next Army service pistol, if I were to make that argument, this is an academic point.
Yeah.
I don't know if Wilson would even want to be in a position to have to make that many guns. I'm to make guns and take your money, but I don't think Wilson, how they function as a company and because they work in 1911s, they're kind of a semi-custom and full custom shop. You can't run a semi-custom, full custom shop, I don't believe, and sell 100,000 guns a year. Can you?
I wouldn't think so.
I
think you would have to get into more of a mass production type thing, and then you're going to lose the custom / semi-custom aspect of it.
But
basically, you're going to be sick.
But here's the thing, though. I will say this: this EDC gun, the changes they've made to this gun, there's a few things I would question, like how they do the plunger tube design. for the around the slide stop and the thumb safety. That is probably requires a little bit of fitting and making sure it's done right. But the rest of that gun, like the locking lugs and how it works and that frame, that can be mass produced. That in my opinion, I don't build guns for a living, and maybe Wilson may be like, hell no, you're out of your mind. But I don't think the EDC X9 gun, it's so reliable. Part of it is the way they've designed how it locks up and the rails the angle of the magazine. I think that's all mass produced. I think the things that make that gun super reliable can be done mass produced. I don't think it's I don't think it's a hand fitted thing. But the bushing is obviously hand fitted.
Well, Freeze, I have a question for you. On your basic 1911, and Marky, you would know this too. Are most of the parts machined or stamped?
Are they what? You dropped on me there. Are they machined or what?
Or stamped, pressed.
I don't know of any pressed or stamped parts on a 1911, but there's lot of
the trigger bow on a 1911 can be stamped. The trigger bow, the bow that goes around, but they don't. And most people now, dude, what was it? They started machining. They used to do cast.
A lot of them are MIM. A lot of them are MIM parts, metal injected molding.
But what happened is that it became so competitive. Once MIM became bad, and not all MIM is bad. Casting became bad because people don't know anything, and so you started seeing companies making parts on 1911s that were traditionally cast, and they were machining them out of bar stock just so they could say machined out of forged bar stock. And so because people are like, I'm going to spend $3,000 on this gun, and you got a cast part on your gun, you suck. I've got a machined bar stock part. It's like on a part that should be cast because it's so intricate. It's like, why would you even machine this goddamn thing? But that's people are going to. There is an element of selling people something because they don't know what they're buying. They're just buying buzzwords when it comes to 1911s. There is that. There is a fair amount of
That's
that.
What I was asking, basically.
Yeah, there is.
The bragging rights.
There is. There's more people. There's a lot of people that buy high end. It's not just 1911s. People that look. Okay, let's be real here, dog. I don't know too many Ferraris that have 100,000 miles on them.
Or Lambos.
Most people buy them and park them. Now, wait a minute. There are guys with 100,000 mile Lambos and 100,000 mile Ferraris because those are the drivers. Most people buy them so they can drive in the cars and coffee and stand in front of them. Because remember, like they said in that movie, it's not about how you are standing in front of your car. It's about how you drive your car. And there's a lot of that in the gun world. A lot of that.
Yeah.
We had a guy make a comment. We had a guy make a comment on one of our, because I was doing dot drills yesterday with the EDC gun, the Wilson gun, and I got 5 into one hole. Not perfect hole, but pretty good. I mean, I'll take it. But somebody had noticed that there was wear on the red dot on the right side of it, and I thought the wear was coming from the holster because I carry it. I'm wearing it now, but somebody asked if that was from brass ejecting and hitting the red dot frame on the frame of the red dot, like the metal outer casing. And I was like, nah, that's from the holster. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, that could be from the brass. And here's the thing: it kind of occurred to me. It's like the SRO red dot that I have on that gun. They're large and they sit more forward, closer to the ejection port. Yeah. And I wonder if there's a guy out there who's shooting a lot, and he's shooting that gun with the red dot on it. If you look at that red dot, it might be fair to assume that you should see a lot of wear on that red dot case because the brass might be hitting it. And how many people do you see with that red dot like, I shoot, like that gun's only got 2,000 rounds through it right now because I haven't shot her in the past couple of weeks because of the move, and that's obviously very worn. These people that are like, I shoot all these rounds or whatever, they got this SRO red dot that looks like factory new. It's like, really?
Well,
I'm curious.
Why don't you set up a high-speed
curious.
camera and film yourself shooting? See if that's it.
Actually, today we put that on the to-do list because we're going to do a video test on Friday, and I'm going to, since that's going to be easy to do for high speed, because we have a photographer coming out and a videographer, and I am going to shoot. We're going to shoot that. We're going to shoot that on high speed because I don't know. I don't know if that brass is hitting that thing or not. It's not hitting the glass. It might be hitting the frame of the case of the red dot. But it was like, that's interesting. I wonder how many other SRO red dots don't have wear on them. Those guys shooting too. So anyway,
somebody's pretty noticeable in things.
So I want to go ahead and I want to say this because we talked about it off pod briefly, and I'm going to give the guy some due. I don't think he's in a position to listen to the podcast because he has a concern. We have a new contributor to the John1911 website. His name is Umar, and Umar lives in Pakistan, and Umar's a pretty good guy. He's a gun guy. But Umar does have some concerns, like he always has to be worried about people thinking he's CIA. So he's probably not listening to the John1911 podcast in his village in Pakistan. But Umar's been posting some really amazing. Well, I've only published one on the website, but the stuff he's sending over, the stuff he finds in Pakistan, the stuff that's either historical or the stuff that is locally made. Like, he sent me pictures of a Beretta that he's like, this is a copy. He's like, this is not an original Beretta. This is a copy made in Pakistan. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, dude, that's a Beretta. He's like, no, it's a copy. I'm like, dude, that's a Beretta. And, he lives in the Khyber Pass region where they do all the fake guns up there. They make all these guns. Like, they copy MP5s up there. But it used to be that the copies were kind of made out of pot metal, and maybe they still are. But some of the stuff these guys are doing now, I am looking at this. I've got high-resolution photographs of this gun, this Beretta 92. And I'm like, that's a fucking Beretta. That is not a copy. He's like, nope, that is a copy. I'm like, wow.
I'd like to see the internals.
We talked about this, I don't know, a week or so ago. And I haven't seen, in all fairness, I haven't seen pictures. But you said this gun comes with a box as well?
No, that's another one. No. He sent another group of pictures, a buddy of his. This is what's okay. If you're the listener at home, you better grab your ass and get ready because you're not going to believe what I'm about to frickin' tell you. So in Pakistan, these guys, they copy everything. Umar has a gun his buddy owns that he claims is a copy of a Taurus PT-99 made in Pakistan. And it's such a copy, it's even got a Taurus box.
See, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it.
Now, I think he might have said it's a licensed copy, but it's like, who would do that? Who, even if it's like there's some factory and it's a licensed copy, I'm like, who the fuck would copy that?
Mass marketing.
Yeah.
They could probably sell them all for $100 a piece and make millions.
Some of the prices, well, like here's an example. I can get SKS, Chinese SKSs in the U.S. cheaper today for about the same probably a hair cheaper. I know I can get them cheaper here, $100 cheaper here than they can sell them for in Pakistan.
Oh,
but basically, with the exception of the SKS, everything else over there is cheaper by a lot.
Can a United States FFL import a Pakistan weapon?
Yes and no. Basically, the answer to your question, because if it was a machine gun, Like if there's an AK-47 that's made in Pakistan or whatever, and it's fully automatic, it can be imported into the United States as a post-dealer sample, that's a non-transferable machine gun that only dealers or law enforcement or government agencies can get. So, but basically, could a lot of these weapons, semi-autos, they could not come into the U.S. because they would either not be 922R compliant, or so American-made parts, or some of them wouldn't meet the sporting use clause, and I think in the 68 Gun Control Act. So a lot of them could not come in, or it'd be so cost prohibitive. That wasn't even half Pakistani, but without going into too much detail, we're talking about it. So we'll leave it at that. But that could be that.
Well, my question was, so basically, what they make in Pakistan stays in Pakistan. There's not a giant export.
No,
market.
that shit ends up all over the place.
Oh, really?
A lot of it ends up in Afghanistan. A lot of it ends up in some of it ends up in Iran. Some of it ends up in India surreptitiously. Pakistani guns. You know what? There's my understanding when he talks. There's two groups of people that make guns in Pakistan. There are what I would call, in U.S. terms, major gun manufacturers, companies that have factories that make guns. And that Taurus copy looks like it's coming from some kind of factory in Pakistan. Okay, and there's some Chinese guns, Chinese format guns that are being made in factories in Pakistan. But some of these other guns that he finds are being made by, Bubba gunsmiths. And that Bubba gunsmith is kind of, the quality is so high anymore. Well, the cosmetic quality is so high, you almost can't even believe that's coming out of, that's coming out of like some village in the Khyber Pass. Which is
so I was just going to say, so they've upped their game since the old Khyber Pass Enfields that you used to see.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a Khyber Pass Enfield here, but the stuff that's so good now, I would question my ability to tell a real one from a fake one. Like I don't know if they've got laser engravers, because look. Every Hilljack here can buy a laser engraver now. I mean, they're expensive, but you can get them. Everybody can buy, 3D printers. They have smartphones. Like Umar does not live in a big city. Umar lives in a village, and Umar's got a smartphone. And Umar is taking pictures for us, and talking to us. These people, they get on the internet and they see when people criticize Pakistani Khyber Pass weapons. Oh, that looks like shit. That font isn't right. I'm convinced that they have the ability to be like, hey, we're getting caught. This is spelled wrong, or this isn't translating right, or this is the wrong font, and they keep trying to get better and better and better. I'm convinced of that. The photographs he sent are unbelievable.
That's impressive, though. I tell you what. But that's how they always, they would get caught in the past. They would misspell shit, or they would put incorrect markings on things. Mm-hmm.
It would be crooked, or the font wouldn't match, or
I was in a store. This was years ago, and there was a cardboard box in there, and on the side of it said "Made in Cheyenne." They misspelled China because whoever printed it or set up the printer for that really doesn't have a command of the English language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You see that? Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, look. Now, wait a minute. FN in the United States. Remember those FN SPR A3G guns? Remember that FBI sniper rifle, that the green gun I had? It was the FBI sniper rifle from years ago.
Yeah.
Remember that gun?
Yeah.
The original run of those guns that they released into the U.S., FN misspelled Fredericksburg, Virginia on them.
Did they really?
The roll mark is misspelled Fredericksburg. Yes, and so you could tell, and that's how some people were using those roll marks because there was an issue with some of the guns not having proper chrome line barrels, and so like people were using that as like, is this an early one or a later one? And they've been using the roll mark. So yeah, I mean, it happens, dude. You know, dude, if you're from Belgium and someone says spell Fredericksburg, okay, just type it in the deal. They put it, you know, and they set it up. You ask 100 Americans to spell Fredericksburg, they all ain't going to be right. There's going to be some misspellings in there.
Yeah. No, and it happens.
Yeah. You know, so expect to see more stuff from Umar, and Freeze is, you know. But I look, Freeze, I'm gonna throw you a bone here. Umar uses he uses the social media as the best way to communicate with us because it doesn't cost him a lot of money with his cell phone service, and he bugs the shit out of Freeze. Umar, I got to get on Umar about that. It's like Umar sends when he gets into one of these gun stores or one of these villages, he will send 40 messages. Take a look at this. Take a look at that. Take a look at this. Take a look at that.
I'll be sitting there talking to someone and my phone's bing, 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 bing. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Because when it's 3 o'clock in the morning here at Freeze is working, it's like 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Pakistan. So he's up. And it's there's been some internal drama with Freeze. Freeze is like,
I'm ready to block the dude.
You can't block him. He works for us.
Well, tell him to get email.
Well, you know, if he's sending all those messages, what's his day job? Auto warranty extension salesman?
No, he's probably a goat farmer, or he like dirt or something. He's in a village in Pakistan.
We are probably the best job he's ever had.
God, that is so sad.
Yeah, so he gets cheese on his White Castles. I see.
Yes, I mean, hey, look, you know, I mean, look, Umar has a paid position, you know, and so the money goes a long way in Pakistan. We'll leave it at that. So that's Umar. Umar is vetted. Umar is okay. If you see Umar on our website, that's who he is. You know, I don't want to give too much else about it because, you know, don't want him to get arrested for being CIA. But, you know, that's what's going on with that. Hey, and because we've been going for a while, in other industry news, the Cody Firearms Museum in Wyoming, their chief curator has, she's gone to emerita status, Ashley Hlebinsky, and she has left, and her assistant is now the chief curator or head curator, and she is now moving because she's married to Harnish. He's the guy. He's a shooter. He used to work he was on as a matter of fact, because we just talked about it. He was on FN's shooting team.
Okay.
Then he started working for Surefire, and he's now based in Arizona. So. Freeze, do you remember we were at the NRA show and you were talking to the guy Voss at the NRA show about the ballista rifle, and you were just like the rifle's like $7,000 and you were like weighs 2,500 pounds and you're just like whatever. Yeah. David Voss, that Voss guy is the captain of I'm pretty certain is the captain of the FN shooting team. So
yeah, he was he was not happy with my breakdown of the ballista.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, it's a uber tactical gun that's super heavy and super configurable, and you're like the super practical guy who hunts deer, and any rifle that weighs more than 5 pounds you think weighs like a ton.
Well, yeah, okay, that is kind of true. But in all reality, look, this thing is so ridiculously heavy. I mean, this thing is. The ballista. Or as I call it, the ultimate behemoth. That's crazy. But speaking of crazy, man, I'll tell you what, the 7.62 by 39 AR build. That
you know what? I apologize. Video of him test firing that, and it worked.
What's that?
You sent video of you testifying it, and it worked.
Oh yeah. But let me tell you something. That thing, I mean, it's not ballista heavy, but oh my God, that thing weighs a ton. It does. That thing is so.
Did you put a heavy ass barrel in it?
It's got a pretty stout barrel, yes. And I've got a full buttstock on it, and I've got a. It's just a heavy goddamn gun. I got my bipod
you built
on
that to really hunt deer, right? That's
yes,
like a deer gun, right?
Yeah, basically, that gun, I put a bipod on. I got my cheap bipod in, which is just basically probably a Chinese knockoff of a Harris.
Or a Khyber Pass knockoff of a Chinese knockoff.
No, but it's basically made to shoot off of a bench or to shoot out of a deer stand for deer hunting. It's not a run and gun gun. This is
Does it weigh 9 pounds?
Probably.
Wow.
I haven't weighed it, but it's heavy. I mean,
hey, speaking of heavy, I just want to ask you this: would you ever be interested in owning an M1 Garand that was converted to 8mm Mauser?
No.
Okay, because Umar has access to 2 of them, and he's dying to send photographs. Because apparently in Pakistan, 8mm Mauser is like the preferred cartridge, and they can't get 30-06, so they convert these Garands to shoot 8mm Mauser, and it's like, holy shit.
No, and look, and I'll tell you what, to be honest with you, I don't see why an 8mm Mauser wouldn't fit right into an end block clip and work fine if it was rechambered. I mean, 30-06.
Asking about the end block clip.
But 30-06 and 8mm Mauser are, man, they're almost identical rounds.
I wonder if I could get the ATF to approve importing 8mm Mauser M1 Garands.
Probably not, because it's a U.S.-made gun, and you can't bring U.S.-made guns back into the United States after they've been sent out of the country.
No, they're bringing stuff in now all the time. The CMP brought a bunch of stuff in.
That's the CMP, and it's coming from the Philippines. But there's all kinds of U.S. There's Thompsons, and there's 1911s, and there's all kinds of shit in the Soviet Union that can't come back in. That's the whole thing. Once the United States
is that a Metzenbaum rule? Is that Howard Metzenbaum thing?
I don't know. It might be a Carter thing.
Well, Senator Howard Metzenbaum was probably the one that I think for some reason I'm thinking he was the one that wrote the bill on that. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. So let me ask you this one. Could you get a Pakistani-made copy? Because it's not an American-made gun if it's actually made in Pakistan. If it's
if it was a Pakistani-made gun, it should be eligible for import as long as it fit the normal, import rules and regs that are set up.
So but basically, what I could do is I could spend a fortune. I could bring in 1,000 M1 Garands and 8mm Mauser. Nobody will buy them. We'll go out of business, and Ian on Forgotten Weapons will do a video on our gun.
Good idea.
And we'll be we'll be a forgotten weapon.
Yeah, technically.
I thought that was funnier in my head than it sounded coming out of my mouth. But obviously, you guys didn't think it was funny at all.
Yeah. So, well, look, the thing is, would I be interested in one? I mean, not really. But I mean, if one was sitting here at the right price, I mean, that doesn't mean I wouldn't what the hell,
Yeah. We'll see. It's
right
just
now,
one of those funny things.
I mean, right now, Garands are so crazy priced. A lot of it would.
Yeah, the price of Garands doesn't make sense to me, to be honest with you. Like, I don't understand why because there's so many of them, and I think more of them are coming in somehow.
They're coming in from the Philippines. That's where the CMP's getting them all, from the Philippines, and that's why they're able to bring them in. But look, here's the thing with I agree with you. I don't understand the price of the M1 Garand, but my thing is, if you had 1,000 of these made, you'd sell all 1,000 of them, because every M1 Garand collector would have to have one for their collection.
You mean that you think M1 Grand collectors would buy an 8mm M1 Grand?
Oh, dude, an M1 Grand collector, because they've got their, they've got all their different makes and models of US M1 Grands. Then they've got their, their Finn M1 Grand, and it's kind of, they're like Mauser collectors, And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I've got an 8mm Khyber Pass M1 Garand, bitch.
Well, see, the thing is, but these guys, remember, okay, because this is where you and I are older, so we are gentlemen of a certain age, and we remember when the cool kids used to shit on stuff that now today is considered worth having. I remember when everybody said, I would pick up a Garand at a gun store and somebody would go, that's a Blue Sky, and be like, oh, fuck, don't want that. And you're telling me that if a Pakistani Khyber Pass Grand came in, that the same thing wouldn't happen? People would be like, that's a fucking, they'd probably blow up in your face and pop a grenade on you.
Yeah, but what happened is when they brought in the Blue Sky, those were Korean. When they brought those in, all your Milsurp collectible dickheads, and I mean that lovingly, they all shit on them.
So this episode not brought to you by Numerous Arms. Okay.
Well, I mean, look, Milsurp collectors are the biggest dickheads out there. I mean, they are. I mean, I've been dealing with, hell, I'm a Milsurp collector myself, and I'm a dickhead. I mean, I know these things. And they shit on things like that. And they'll shit on the Khyber Pass 8mm Grand.
They're incentivized like that because stuff that they have is solid gold and stuff that you have is craft. But as soon as they have it, it becomes solid gold. That's
but let me tell you something.
The arbitrage of their business.
But all these Milsurp collectors that shit on the Blue Sky and talk crap about Blue Sky, how many Blue Sky M1 Grands are sitting in gun stores that are not sellable? The answer to that is zero. They sold every fucking one of them.
Saving Private Ryan sold all those Blue Skies.
Right.
You're right. Well, I'll tell you what, we've only got a few minutes left and we got a hard break. So I'm going to go ahead and get a few things in before we go. So I'll go two things first. One of them, because I am kind of a car guy, and I just wanted to say this. There has been some talk about the possibility of, we're super curious about the new Ford Bronco. Because I don't know a whole lot about them, but they look pretty good. And, the doors come off and you can do all that kind of stuff. And I don't think Jeeps are that comfortable. I've also found Jeeps not that reliable. I actually saw my first Jeep pickup truck broken down on the highway yesterday, coming back from the John1911 range. I was like, holy shit, there's one of those broken. The joke is around here with the truck drivers, the most common vehicle that they would see broken down on the side of the road for a call for service would be some kind of Jeep product. And most of it was like some kind of Jeep SUV. So, but I'm going to hold out for the Ford Bronco OJ edition and see if they make it all white and, and do that. So, anyway, if you guys don't like that joke either, fuck you guys. I thought it was pretty fun. So, okay.
Go screw yourself. I have a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee and I like
it. don't drive it at highway speeds.
Hey, and I've owned Jeeps all my life, so screw you too.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's right. When I first met you, Freeze, you did have a Jeep. So
I was driving a 1987 Grand Wagoneer, and I still love that vehicle to this day. I wish I would have never got rid of it.
Yeah, they're worth a fortune now.
It is.
Yeah.
But Freeze, when Freeze had that vehicle, one of the reasons he kept that vehicle as long as he did is because he had to drive to the ghetto to go to work, and nobody would fuck with it. Tell me I'm not telling the truth. Tell me I'm lying.
No, that's the reason I drive a 99 Suburban right now, because two reasons. It's a 99, and if someone, dings it or beats it up, I don't, it's not that big of a deal. And the other thing is all the brothers love it. Dude, the brothers in the hood, they all love my Suburban.
They love your Suburban?
Oh, I probably get 2 or 3 offers a month to buy it.
Really? Oh, they're stepping up with money. So they're not just being nice, they're throwing cash at you.
Oh yeah, I get 2 or 3 offers a month to buy that Suburban.
What's your price? Because dude, I know everything's got a price. What's the price? What is your I will consider it price? They don't
give me $6,000. Give me $6,000. Give me $6,000 for it, and it's yours.
Cash? Well, it has to be cash.
Well, it'd have to be cash. And let's face it, no one in the ghetto has bank accounts, but they got wads. So, or as they call them, racks.
Okay. $6,000. So Freeze's truck is for sale for $6,000. So we got about 3 minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead and give my police blotter story. There's been a lot of tough stories lately. There's been a lot of like stories with there's been the riots and there's been the attacks and there's been this. Apparently, there's some word coming out that there were some police officers assaulted in New York this afternoon. There's been some police killed.
I heard the police chief took a whack to the head today.
Yeah, there's all this kind of stuff because these Democrats, they want to use the communists as a wedge to see if they can't win in November. And even if they win in November, they're going to lose control because the commies are going to come after them too. But anyway, So here's my feel-good story police blotter line. So I thought this was pretty neat. This is a COVID only crime. This is a crime that will not exist in the future. So You remember, and I don't drink, but Freeze, come on. When you were a young man, when you were 15, 16, 17, getting alcohol was always, like a thing, like in your universe. Like there was always a scam. Somebody knew somebody, or somebody had parents, or fake IDs and all this kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
This kid, this is so brilliant. I have to give it to the kids. Teens are getting dressed up as their grandmothers, putting on a mask because grandmothers have to wear a mask, taking their grandmother's ID, going to the liquor store with a mask on and wearing a wig and acting like an old lady to buy alcohol at the liquor store and getting away with it.
Dude, the mask makes it all, and it's brilliant. I mean, it really is brilliant. Now, you have to make sure you go to an Arab store in the ghetto where they don't card.
I don't have Mitch here to delete. Yes, okay.
No, but seriously, a lot of stores card everyone regardless of age, and a lot of stores don't, So as long as you go into a store, like for example, United Dairy Farmers.
Hey, we have 70 seconds.
Okay. So anyway,
stores. So we got to do the toss. So this wraps up episode 180 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see any stories or pictures or links of anything we discussed about, including Arab stores, go to the John 1911 website, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
See you later.
And it's night. Bye-bye.
Oh, that's right, Arab stores.
Go buy a Bronco.
You know I'm part Arab, right? Okay, we'll just go and leave it at that. All right.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Bye.